The horses stirred first, stamping in the straw as if they heard it too. He set the brush down, head lifting at the hollow thud against the barn door. Once, twice, then silence. He waited, chest tight, listening to the scrape of hooves and the faint wind through cracks in the wall. Another knock came, softer, almost careful. He walked slowly, hand brushing the hammer on the workbench before unlatching the door. A boy stood there, thin as a fence post, dirt on his face, a sketchbook hugged to his chest like it was worth more than life. The boy didn't blink. He just stared. The man frowned. "You lost?" The boy shook his head. "You run from someone?" A pause, then another shake. The man studied him, uneasy at how quiet he was. "Are you hungry?" A nod this time, small, quick. The man sighed and stepped back. "Come in then. Horses don't bite if you keep your hands low." The boy moved inside like he'd been here before, steps light on the dirt floor. He kept clutching that sketchbook, eyes roaming the horses in their stalls. The man shut the door, locking it against the cold. He lit a lantern, its glow catching the boy's hollow cheeks. "What's your name?" The boy shrugged. "Don't have one." The boy's lips pressed thin. "Fine," the man muttered. "Sit yourself down." He pulled out a stool by the feed sacks. The boy sat, never letting go of the sketchbook. The man tossed him half a loaf of bread. The boy tore at it like he hadn't eaten in days. The sound of his chewing filled the barn until the man spoke again. "Where's your folks?" Silence. "You hear me?" Silence. "Damn it, boy, I'm not talking to air." The boy finally said one word. "Gone." The man stilled. "Gone where?" The boy's jaw tightened. "Just gone." They stayed like that, the man staring, the boy eating. The lantern flickered against beams dark with age. The horses shifted, tails swatting at flies that weren't there. The man leaned on the post, eyes narrow. "What's in that book you guard so tight?" The boy hugged it closer. "Drawings." "Of what?" "Horses." A rough laugh escaped the man. "You come to the right place." He gestured. "Show me." The boy hesitated, then opened the book. Page after page of horses, wild ones, broken ones, twisted in motion, pencil marks cut deep into the paper, heavy lines that made the figures look alive, almost furious. The man's throat tightened. "You draw all these?" The boy nodded. "Why?" "Can't stop." The man's voice dropped. "Who taught you?" "No one." He flipped another page, hands shaking, and there was a horse with a scar across its flank that the man swore looked like his brother's old gelding. He felt the air leave his lungs. He shut the book too hard. "That's enough." The boy flinched. "Where'd you see a horse like that?" The boy wouldn't answer. "Tell me." Silence. "Don't play dumb." The boy's eyes, flat and steady, met his. "Memory." The word stung. The man looked away, heat crawling up his neck. "You talk nonsense." He moved toward the stall, busying his hands with hay, though his mind spun. Behind him, the boy's pencil scraped again. He turned. The boy was already sketching on a fresh page, lines quick and sharp. "I said that's enough." The boy ignored him, lost in the scratching rhythm. The man stepped forward, ripped the pencil from his hand. The boy gasped like he'd been struck. "You don't get to draw in my house without asking." The boy's lips trembled. "Need to." "You don't need to do a damn thing but eat and keep quiet." He threw the pencil on the table. The boy stared at him with something colder than fear, then bent, picked the pencil up, and kept drawing. The man stood frozen. He should throw him out, send him walking back to wherever he came from. But something in the boy's silence, the weight in his eyes, kept him still. He pulled out a chair and sat across from him, watching as the pencil tore at the page. "What are you drawing now?" The boy didn't answer. Another horse. Still no answer. The man leaned closer, heart pounding as shapes began to form. Mane, eyes, body hunched in motion. He swallowed hard. "Looks wild." The boy kept working, faster and breathing shallowly. "You always draw at night?" The boy finally whispered. "Only when it's quiet." The man nodded slowly. He was quiet. He'd lived in it since his brother vanished, since the sheriff stopped asking questions, since the whole town decided silence was cleaner than truth. The boy's hand stopped, page filled. He pushed it forward. Another horse, this one broken at the legs, mouth open in a scream the man could almost hear. He shuddered. "Why draw pain?" The boy whispered. "It's real." The man gripped the table, knuckles white. He didn't want this. He didn't want ghosts scratching on paper, but the boy looked at him with a kind of pleading, and he couldn't send him out. Not tonight. He stood, pulled another chair to the table, and sat again. You can stay till morning. After that, we'll see. The boy nodded once. They sat in silence, only the sound of pencil strokes and horses breathing in the stalls. The man lit another lantern, the room warmer now. He tried not to stare at the boy, tried not to think of his brother, but the sketches made it impossible. Each line was a reminder, each page a wound opening. He whispered more to himself than the boy. "Don't know why I let you in," the boy replied without looking up. "Because you're alone." The words cut him. He clenched his jaw, turned his face away, and let the boy keep drawing. The kitchen smelled faintly of wood smoke and stale coffee. The man set a chipped plate on the table, bread torn uneven, and a jar of beans open beside it. The boy sat stiff, sketchbook close at hand, eyes on the food, but not moving, until the man gave a short nod. Then he ate fast, tearing bread with his teeth, chewing like he hadn't done it in days. The man leaned against the counter, arms crossed, watching him. "You gonna tell me where you're from?" The boy shook his head. "That's not an answer." A shrug. "Who's your people?" The boy stared at the beans, said nothing. "Do you have a family or not?" The boy muttered, "Gone." The man's jaw tightened. "That's the only word you know." The boy's shoulders lifted again, then dropped. The sound of chewing filled the silence, loud in the small room. The man pulled a chair, sat across from him. "What's your name?" The boy's lips pressed thin. "I asked you a question." The boy whispered, "Don't matter." "It matters to me." He got no answer. He sighed, rubbed a hand across his face. "You one of those boys ran off from the county home?" The boy froze for a moment, then shook his head. "The sheriff will be looking." The boy's gaze stayed low. The man narrowed his eyes. "Are you lying?" A faint shrug. "Hell," the man muttered. He pushed the beans closer. "Eat while you can. I'm not running a charity, but you're here now." The boy ate until the plate was clean, then wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. He reached for the sketchbook like instinct. The man frowned. "Always drawing?" The boy nodded. "Why?" "Need to." "Need to or want to?" "Both." He flipped it open, pencil scratching quick, fierce. The man leaned forward, curious despite himself. Horses filled the page, manes wild, legs bent like they'd been broken mid-run. Some bore scars, dark lines gouged deep in the paper, yet each one looked alive, ready to leap from the page. The man's chest tightened. "Those don't look like pasture horses. They look hunted." The boy kept drawing. "Have you seen things like that?" The boy whispered. "I see them every night." The man swallowed. "Dreams?" The boy didn't answer. The pencil moved faster, jagged lines cutting the paper. The man reached out, caught his wrist. "Easy. You'll tear it." The boy's eyes snapped up, fierce for the first time. "Don't." The man let go. "All right." He watched the hand move again, and something in it struck him. The grip, the angle, the stubborn press of the pencil. His stomach twisted. It was the same way his brother used to hold a tool. A hammer, a knife. He forced himself not to say it, but the thought burned. He leaned back, chair creaking. "Who taught you to hold it like that?" The boy shrugged. "Someone must have." "No one." His voice was flat, steady. The man stared at him, uneasy. The boy kept drawing, lost in it, page after page, filling with restless horses. The room grew heavy with silence, broken only by the pencil scrape. The man cleared his throat. "How old are you?" "Don't know." "You mean you don't remember?" "It doesn't matter." "Everything matters," the man snapped. The boy didn't flinch, didn't look up. The man leaned closer. "Are you running from something bad?" A pause. Then the boy said, "Always." The man felt the words like a stone in his gut. He stood, pacing the floorboards. "I don't need trouble. Sheriff comes sniffing. I'm done." The boy kept his eyes on the page. "Then send me out." The man stopped. "What do you want?" The boy's hand paused, then started again. "Doesn't matter." The man shook his head, muttering, "Damn boy." He sat back down, staring as the horses multiplied, each one scarred in a new way. Eyes blind, hooves cracked, ribs showing through. They looked too real, like the boy had seen them in flesh. The man whispered, "Why so broken?" The boy's pencil stilled. He looked up, eyes blank but voice sharp. "Because nothing stays whole." The man had no answer. The lantern flickered, shadows crawling up the walls. The man thought of his brother, the night he never came back, the search that ended too quickly. He remembered his hands, the same tight grip. He stared at the boy's knuckles, pale and tense, and felt the hair rise on his arms. "You remind me of someone." The boy tilted his head. "Who?" The man looked away. "Doesn't matter." They sat in the silence again. The boy flipped another page, pencil carving fast. The man forced himself to speak. "Are you planning to stay long?" "Not long." "Where'll you go?" "Don't know." "You must have a place." "I don't." The man rubbed his temples. "You're a hard one to talk to." The boy muttered, "Talking's not living." The man laughed once, rough and bitter. "Ain't that the truth?" He leaned back, staring at the cracked ceiling. "You know how to work, feed, mend, clean?" The boy nodded faintly. "Then you'll earn your keep if you stay. No free ride." The boy didn't reply, just turned to another page. The man leaned forward, voice low. "One rule. You tell me when someone comes looking. Sheriff, governor, anybody. You don't keep me blind." The boy's eyes lifted, dark and still. "You already are." The words hit harder than they should. The man stood, pacing again, fists tight at his sides. He wanted to yell, to throw the boy and his drawings out into the night, but something held him back. He stopped by the window, staring out at the dark yard, the quiet horses. Behind him, the pencil moved steady, filling silence the way words never could. He turned back, voice hoarse. "You draw like it's all you got." The boy whispered, "It is." The man sat again, heavy, tired. He looked at the pages, at the scarred horses staring back at him. He thought of his brother's face, half remembered, fading each year. The boy's grip, the lines, the silence. They made the memory sharper than it had been in years. He whispered to himself, "Damn, ghosts never quit." The boy didn't look up. He kept drawing, and the man let him because for the first time in years, silence felt less empty. The morning was pale when the crunch of tires rolled up the dirt path. The man stepped out of the barn, wiping his hands on his shirt. The sheriff's truck pulled up slowly, dust lifting in the air. The door creaked open and boots hit the ground. The sheriff stood there, broad, gray in the beard, chewing tobacco like it was a sermon. He spat in the dirt and fixed his eyes on the man. "You got strays." His voice was dry, like gravel. The man shook his head. "Not here." "Funny." The sheriff hooked his thumbs in his belt. "Word's a boy's gone missing from the county home. I like to run. Folks say he's quiet, odd, and carries a sketchbook." The man didn't flinch. "Ain't seen him." The sheriff narrowed his eyes. "Is that so?" "Plain truth." The sheriff glanced toward the barn, then the house, chewing slowly. "Mind if I look around?" "I do mind." The sheriff smirked. "Still touchy after all these years." "Still nosy after all these years." They stood silent for a moment, air heavy between them. Horses shifted in the barn, stamping like they knew trouble when they heard it. The sheriff spat again. "You remember what happened last time you kept quiet about a missing boy?" The man's jaw locked. "Careful." "Just saying." "You're not just saying. You're reminding me." The sheriff shrugged, fake casual. "History has teeth. You know that." The man's voice was sharp. "You think I forgot?" The sheriff tilted his head. "Thought maybe you tried to. Folks around here have a short memory when it's convenient." The man stepped closer, eyes hard. "What do you want, Sheriff?" "I want to know if you have seen a boy." "I told you I ain't." "You'd lie." "You'd believe what suits you." The sheriff chuckled low. "Same old game." "Same old liar." The sheriff's eyes darkened. "Watch yourself." "You first." Silence stretched again. The sheriff spit tobacco juice near the man's boots. "You're harboring ghosts you can't feed." The man didn't blink. "Don't talk in riddles." "Not a riddle. A warning." "Sounds like a threat." The sheriff smirked again, but his eyes were cold. "Ghosts eat a man from the inside. You'd know." The man's hands curled into fists. "Say his name." The sheriff shook his head. "Better not. Some names drag the dead with them." The man's voice broke, just a crack. "Say it." The sheriff looked at him long, then spit again. Slow. "No need. You already hear it in your sleep." The man's chest rose heavy. He forced himself still. "Get off my land." The sheriff studied him, chewing, silent for too long. Then he turned, walked back to his truck. He paused, hand on the door. "You can't. Keep the past shut out. It'll walk right through your fence." The man's jaw clenched. "Leave." The sheriff climbed in, engine rumbling to life. He rolled down the window, leaned out with that same smug half-smile. "If you see the boy, you tell me. Or don't. Either way, ghosts don't stay buried." He drove off slow, dust trailing like smoke. The man stood there, watching the dirt settle. His stomach was tight, his chest burning. He wanted to put his fist through something, but his hands only trembled. He turned back toward the barn. The horses were restless, pacing in their stalls. He pushed open the door. The boy sat at the table, sketchbook open, pencil poised but not moving. His face was pale, eyes on the man. "You heard." The boy nodded. The man shut the door behind him, leaned hard against it. His voice was low. "Sheriff thinks you're here." The boy said nothing. "He's got no proof. Long as you stay quiet, he can't touch you." The boy's eyes stayed locked on him. "What?" the man demanded. The boy finally spoke, voice rough but steady. "He's still out there." The man froze. The words hung in the air like a bell toll. His throat tightened, heart slamming. "What did you say?" The boy didn't repeat. He just turned back to the sketchbook and began to draw again, hand moving fast, fierce, like the words themselves had opened something. The man stood there, unable to move. Every sound in the barn too sharp, the scrape of pencil, the restless shuffle of horses, the blood pounding in his ears. The boy sat at the kitchen table, head bent low over the paper, pencil scratching in steady strokes. The man poured coffee, bitter and burnt, and tried not to watch, but his eyes slid back, drawn to the page. It wasn't another horse this time. It was a face, half a face, a jawline sharp, a mouth forming, eyes left blank. The man froze, mug in hand. "What's that supposed to be?" His voice was rougher than he meant. The boy didn't answer. The pencil kept moving. "I asked you a question." The boy muttered, "Not done." The man stepped closer. He saw it clearer now, the jaw, the angle of the cheek. His chest tightened. He set the mug down hard enough to slosh. "Why'd you draw that?" The boy shrugged, kept shading. "Don't shrug me off." "Where'd you see that face?" The boy whispered, "In my head." The man's jaw locked. "Don't lie." "I'm not." The man leaned on the table, staring at the unfinished portrait, memories pressed in. His brother grinning under the sun, his brother shouting in anger, his brother walking away down a dirt road and never looking back. He gripped the table edge, knuckles white. "That's him." The boy's hand stopped. "Who?" "My brother." The boy blinked, slow. "Didn't know." "You didn't know, yet you drew him." "I just draw what comes." The man's throat burned. He pushed the chair back, pacing. "You don't get to pull ghosts out of paper." The boy lowered his pencil. "It's not a ghost." "Then what is it?" The boy stared at the page. "It's someone not finished." The words hit like a blow. The man turned away, hands on his hips. He whispered to himself, "He never came back. He never will." The boy said softly, "Not done." The man spun. "Don't say that." The boy kept his eyes on the paper. "I didn't mean—" "You don't know what you mean." His voice cracked. He saw the porch of their old house, his brother leaning against the rail, fists clenched from a fight they never forgave. He remembered the sound of hooves the night his brother rode out, and the silence that followed. He slammed his fist on the table. "Stop drawing him." The boy flinched, but his pencil moved again. Not on the face. On another page. Horses spilled out, wild, frantic, legs twisted, eyes wide. The man stood over him. "I said stop." The boy didn't. He drew faster, hand trembling, lines rough but alive. His breathing quickened. The man grabbed his wrist. "Enough." The boy gasped, voice sharp. "Don't." "You'll tear your damn hand up." "Don't." The man let go, backing away. His chest heaved, his palms damp. He sat hard in the chair, staring at the boy's hand as it cramped, knuckling white around the pencil. "Why horses?" he asked, voice low. The boy didn't look up. "They run." "Run from what?" "From everything." The man swallowed. He looked at the half-done portrait, the empty eyes waiting. His heart pounded with something between hope and dread. "He's gone," he whispered. The boy said, "Not finished." The man gripped the edge of the table, fighting the pull of the face on paper. His brother's features are half born, half lost, taunting him in lines of graphite. He wanted to rip the page, burn it, bury it, but he couldn't. His hands stayed frozen. The boy drew another horse, pencil trembling with each stroke until it finally slipped from his grip. His hand cramped tight, curled like a claw. He winced, flexing his fingers. The man stared at the bent hand, then at the broken horses crowding the pages. He whispered, almost to himself, "You're bringing him back." The boy shook his head, breathing shallow. "I just draw." The man's voice was hoarse, and "I just see." The room was thick with silence, broken only by the restless scrape of the boy's pencil until it finally rolled to the edge of the table and fell. Both of them watched it hit the floor. Neither moved to pick it up. The man pushed back his chair and stood. His voice was raw, unsteady. "That face stays unfinished. You hear me? It stays that way." The boy didn't answer. He only rubbed his cramped hand, eyes still fixed on the half-done portrait, as if it might finish itself. The envelope came in the morning, thick and cream-colored, marked with the governor's seal pressed in wax. The man held it in his hands too long before tearing it open. The words inside were short, formal, and sharp as a blade. He was expected at the governor's estate for dinner. It was written like a summons, not an invitation. He stood in the doorway, letter shaking in his grip. The boy sat at the table, sketchbook open, pencil scratching. He looked up once, saw the man's face, then went back to drawing. "You can't come," the man muttered. The boy didn't ask. He never asked. The man shoved the letter in his pocket, poured black coffee, swallowed it like medicine. He stared at the boy's bent head, the pages filling with frantic horses, and felt the weight of the evening pressing down already. When dusk came, he washed, shaved, and pulled on the only clean shirt left. The boy watched him from the doorway, silent. "Stay here," the man said. The boy whispered, "Always." The estate sat high on the ridge, white pillars glowing in the lantern light. The gravel drive crackled under boots as the man walked up, stiff-backed, fists clenched. A servant opened the door, eyes cold, ushering him inside. The air smelled of polished wood, tobacco, and money. The governor waited in the parlor, glass of whiskey in hand. He was wide-shouldered, hair slicked, smile sharp as broken glass. "Well, look who finally crawled out of his hole." The man stopped in the doorway. "You sent it to me. I was invited." "Inviting's different." The governor grinned. "Not when I do it." They sat at the long table, servants gliding in and out with dishes that smelled too rich for the man's stomach. The governor raised his glass. "To my family." The man didn't lift his own. "Don't toast me." "Why not?" "You don't mean it." The governor leaned back, smirking, curling. "You're still sore. After all these years." The man's jaw tightened. "You know why." "Remind me." "You mock me enough already." The governor sipped slowly, eyes glinting. "I mock because you let ghosts run your house. A strong man buries them." The man's voice cracked sharp. "You don't speak his name." "I don't have to. Everyone remembers your brother. Everyone remembers how he rode off and how you stayed behind with nothing but horses and dirt." The man's fist balled under the table. "Careful." The governor laughed low. "Still got fire. I like that." He leaned close. "Tell me, you think he's dead?" The man glared. "Or do you dream he's alive, hiding, waiting?" The man's voice was raw. "Shut your mouth." The governor poured him whiskey anyway, sliding the glass across. "You need this." The man didn't drink. The governor drank for him. "This town runs on silence. You know it. I know it. Land changes hands not because of who deserves it, but because of who keeps quiet. Your family learned the hard way." The man muttered, "We were robbed." The governor's smile widened. "You call it robbery. I call it law." The man leaned forward, voice low and rough. "You think power lasts forever?" The governor chuckled. "As long as there's dirt to bury the truth, yes." They sat in heavy silence, the kind that pressed on the ribs. The governor's words hung like smoke, sharp and choking. The man whispered, "One day it'll turn." The governor raised a brow. "You'd have to be the one to turn it. And you won't. You don't have the stomach." The man's eyes burned. He wanted to strike him, wanted to shatter the glass and leave him bleeding. But he sat still. A servant cleared plates, brought more drinks. The governor leaned back, voice lazy now. "The war ended long ago, but some men can't let go. They still think loyalty buys them a better place. Fools. The war was only ever about land. And land, my friend, is mine now." The man's throat tightened. "Not all of it." The governor smirked. "What you cling to is nothing but dust. And when you die, I'll take that too." The man pushed his chair back, ready to leave. The governor's voice hardened. "Sit. You'll walk out when I say." The man froze, fury simmering, but he sat again. The governor's smirk returned. "Good. You still know who holds the reins." From the hallway, unseen by them, the boy stood in shadow. He had slipped in through the servant's door, sketchbook pressed tight to his chest. His eyes were wide, unblinking, fixed on the man and the governor across the table. He heard every word, silent as a ghost. The governor poured another drink. "You'll never win, you know. You've already lost. You just don't know how to admit it." The man's voice was steady, but low. "You're wrong." The governor leaned forward, grin cutting deep. "Then prove me wrong. Bring back your brother, put him at this table. Let's see how alive he really is." The man shoved back from the table, fists trembling. "I'm done." The governor laughed, head tilting back. "Done? You've been done for years." The man stormed toward the door, every step heavy with rage he couldn't release. In the hallway, the boy shrank deeper into the shadows, clutching the sketchbook harder. His hand trembled, aching to draw, but he didn't move. He only watched as the man passed, eyes burning, face pale. The governor's voice echoed after him. "Ghosts don't eat at my table. They starve in yours." The man slammed the door behind him, boots pounding down the steps, the night swallowing him whole. The boy slipped out silent through the back, sketchbook still pressed tight, his eyes catching every glint of power, every word soaked in poison. The house was quiet except for the creak of floorboards and the restless wind rattling the shutters. The man came in from the barn, shoulders heavy, hands raw from rope burns. The boy sat at the table, head bent, pencil scratching slow and steady. A lantern burned low between them. Pages were spread across the wood, horses wild, scarred, broken. But tonight, the boy wasn't drawing horses. The man stopped in the doorway. His chest tightened. The boy's hand moved deliberate, shading, shaping, lines falling into place with certainty. He was drawing a face. The man's breath caught. "What's that?" The boy didn't answer. "I said, what is it?" "Not done yet." The man stepped closer, boots heavy on the floorboards. He could see it forming, the jawline, the shape of the nose, the set of the mouth. His stomach turned. He whispered, "Stop." The boy didn't. His pencil scratched harder, carving into the paper like it meant something. The man slammed his fist on the table. "I said stop." The boy looked up, eyes flat. "Almost finished." The man's throat burned. "You don't know what you're doing." "I do." His hand trembled as he leaned over, staring at the paper. There it was, his brother's face. Not imagined, not half done, but whole, down to the scar under the left eye, the one he got from a fight behind the feed store. The man froze, blood rushing in his ears. "That's him," he whispered. The boy said nothing. "Where did you see him?" The boy's voice was steady, low. "In the dark." The man's heart slammed. "What do you mean the dark?" The boy repeated, "In the dark." He grabbed the paper, shaking it. "Tell me the truth." "That is the truth." The man's chest heaved. He looked at the scar again, the eyes that seemed to stare back at him through pencil and paper. It was too real, too sharp. He shoved the chair back and stumbled to the shelf. His hand found the lamp. He hurled it to the ground. Glass shattered, flame flaring, then dying under his boot. The boy didn't flinch. The man's voice cracked. "You can't draw him back." "I didn't." "Then how?" "I saw him." "Where?" "In the dark." The words made his skin crawl. He pressed his palms to the table, trembling. "You don't know what you're saying." The boy met his eyes. "I know." The man turned away, pacing the floor, chest tight with rage and grief. "He's dead. He's been dead for years." The boy's voice was quiet but sharp. "Not to me." He spun. "You think this is a game? You think I haven't carried him in my head every day since he vanished?" The boy didn't blink. "That's why I drew him." The man slammed both hands on the table, close to the sketch. "You don't understand. He left. He never came back. All I had was silence. And now you." He broke off, choking on the words. The boy whispered, "Now you see him." The man's knees weakened. He dropped into a chair, head in his hands. "Why are you doing this to me?" The boy held the sketch close, fingers trembling over the scar. "Because he's still out there." The man raised his head, face pale. "Where?" The boy shook his head. "In the dark." The man's fists clenched. "Stop saying that." "It's the truth." He shot up again, towering over the boy. "You don't know the truth. You're a stray with a book full of ghosts. That's all you are." The boy's eyes were wet but steady. "You asked where I saw him. I answered." The man stared at him, shaking, torn apart. His brother's face stared up from the page, silent, waiting. He wanted to rip it apart, burn it, bury it deep, but his hands wouldn't move. He whispered, "That scar. Nobody could know that. Nobody but me." The boy's voice was thin, breaking. "I didn't know it. I just drew it." The man staggered back, chair scraping. His mind swarmed with memory, his brother's laugh, his brother's fists, the night he rode away, the silence after. He pressed his palm against the wall, steadying himself. "Why now?" he rasped. The boy closed the sketchbook, hugging it to his chest. "Because you let me in." The man's eyes burned. "You're saying this is my fault?" "I didn't say that." "You didn't have to." The boy lowered his head. "I just draw." The man paced, each step heavier than the last. "And I just break." His voice cracked into silence. The lantern smoke lingered in the room, sharp in the nose, biting. The shattered glass lay glittering on the floor. Horses shifted outside, restless, as if they felt it too. The man turned back to the table. "Show me again." The boy opened the book slowly, sliding the page forward. The face stared back, scar, jaw, mouth, eyes empty but alive. The man's hand trembled as he touched the edge of the paper. "If he's still out there, why hasn't he come back?" The boy whispered, "Maybe he can't." The man looked at him, broken. "Or maybe he won't." The boy didn't answer. The man leaned close to the sketch, voice thin as thread. "Brother, where the hell are you?" The boy's pencil rolled across the table, stopping at the man's hand. The boy pushed it closer. "Draw him, then." The man stared at it, shaking his head. "I can't." "You could try." His voice cracked. "I've tried all my life, but I can't finish him." The boy whispered, "I can." The man shut his eyes, jaw tight, heart split. He whispered, "Then finish him for both of us." The boy nodded once. He picked up the pencil, hand trembling, and went back to the page. The man didn't move. He only watched, every breath heavy, as the boy's lines darkened the eyes, filled the scar, brought the face whole. When it was done, the man's world tilted. His brother looked back at him from paper, alive in graphite and silence. The night was thick with crickets and the low rustle of restless horses. The man was mending tack by lantern light when the boy stood in the doorway. His sketchbook hung limp at his side. He didn't speak, only stared. The man looked up, tired. "What is it?" The boy didn't answer. He turned and walked out into the dark yard. The man cursed under his breath, set the leather aside, and followed. "Where are you going?" The boy didn't slow. He crossed the dirt, bare feet soundless, moving toward the back of the barn. The man called again, sharper. "Talk to me." Still no reply. He caught up, hand grabbing the boy's shoulder. "Where?" The boy lifted his arm, finger pointing ahead, past the barn, past the fence, to the old stone well sunken in weeds. The man froze. His mouth went dry. "Why there?" The boy only stared, pointing. The man shook his head. "That well's been dry for 20 years." The boy whispered, "Not dry." The man's skin prickled. "What do you mean?" The boy's eyes stayed fixed. "Go." The man's jaw tightened. He fetched the lantern from the barn wall and followed him to the well. The stones were cracked, moss crawling between them. The wood frame rotted, rope long gone. He set the lantern on the edge, the light spilling into the dark hole. The boy stepped back, arms crossed over his chest, trembling. The man peered in. Blackness. He gritted his teeth, unhooked the lantern, and lowered it down by the handle, arms straining. The flame flickered against the damp stone. Something caught the light. Not water, not rock. Fabric. Torn, wedged between stones. The man's breath hitched. He lowered the lantern deeper, eyes straining. More scraps clung to the wall, frayed, dark with age. Blue cloth, like a shirt once worn, his chest seized. His brother had a shirt like that. He pulled the lantern back up quickly, hand shaking. His ears rang. For a moment he thought he heard it, his brother's voice, soft, low, like a whisper bleeding through stone. "Help me!" The man staggered back, lantern trembling. "No." The boy's voice broke the air. "You hear him?" The man spun. "What did you say?" "You hear him." "There's nothing down there." The boy stepped closer, eyes wide. "Yes." The man's heart pounded. "I buried him in my mind years ago. He's still here." "You don't know that." The boy's lips parted. "I do." The man's voice rose. "How?" The boy whispered, "He drew horses too." The words stopped the man cold. His stomach twisted. "What?" The boy repeated softer, almost like a prayer. "He drew horses too." The man staggered against the well, gripping the stones. His brother's hands flashed in memory, pencil in one, reins in the other, sketching wild shapes on scrap paper. He had forgotten, or forced himself to forget, but the memory slammed back, sharp and merciless. His throat closed. "You couldn't know that." The boy's eyes filled, voice shaking. "I know." The man turned back to the well. The whispers rose again. Not words, this time, but sound, like someone breathing in the dark, waiting. His knees weakened. He wanted to drop the lantern in, burn whatever was down there, but he couldn't move. The boy stepped closer, voice breaking. "He's waiting." The man slammed his fist on the stone rim. "Stop it!" The boy flinched. "There's nothing left." The man rasped. "Just rags. Just dirt." The boy's face crumpled, whispering again. "He drew horses too." The man pressed both hands to his head, whispering, "Don't say it again." The boy swayed, pale, trembling. His knees buckled. "Hey!" The man barked, reaching out. The boy's eyes rolled back. He collapsed in the weeds, the sketchbook slipping from his grasp. The man caught him too late, lifting his limp frame. "Damn it, boy!" The lantern guttered in the wind. Horses whinnied from the barn, restless, uneasy. The man knelt in the weeds, boy in his arms, eyes drawn back to the mouth of the well. The whispers were gone, but the weight of them stayed heavy in his chest. He pressed his forehead against the boy's tangled hair and shut his eyes. The words echoed anyway. He drew horses too. The morning air was sharp, the kind that bit at the lungs. The man was hauling buckets to the trough when he heard the engine roar up the drive. Gravel cracked under heavy tires. He froze. The sheriff's truck slid to a stop in a spray of dust. The door slammed. Boots hit dirt hard. The man set the buckets down slowly, wiping his hands on his shirt. The sheriff was already marching up, hand resting on his holster, jaw working on tobacco. "Where is he?" The man didn't move. "Who?" "Don't play dumb." The man's voice was flat. "Nobody here." The sheriff's lip curled. "Boy's gone from the county home. Matches the one folks say they see round your place. Thin, quiet, sketchbook always in hand." The man's chest tightened. "I told you before. Ain't seen him." The sheriff spit near his boot. "Liar." The man's eyes hardened. "Careful." The sheriff stepped closer, boots grinding dirt. "You always were stubborn. Thought you were above the law." The man stood his ground. "You're not law. You're a badge, bought and paid for." The sheriff's mouth twitched. "Watch it." "You watch yourself." They stood face to face, silent, stretching, heavy and raw. Horses shifted in the barn, uneasy. The sheriff's hand tapped his belt. "You think I don't know what you're hiding? You think I don't know why you get jumpy when a boy goes missing?" The man's jaw clenched. "Leave the past buried." The sheriff's eyes glinted. "Your brother. You remember him, don't you?" The man's stomach twisted. "Don't. Rode off one night, never come back. Folks whispered he got caught in bad business. Truth is, he owed me." The man's voice cracked sharp. "That's a lie." The sheriff leaned close. "He owed me blood. He owed me land. And when he couldn't pay, he vanished." The man's fists balled. "Are you saying you had a hand in it?" The sheriff smirked. "I'm saying silence ain't free. Your family learned that the hard way." The man's face went pale. "Say it plain." The sheriff spat again. "I kept my mouth shut. I kept papers locked away. Deeds, names, debts. All it cost was your brother's bones." The man's voice shook with rage. "You killed him." The sheriff tilted his head. "I didn't say that. I said I let things play out. Sometimes men bury themselves." The man's throat burned. "You're filth." The sheriff's grin widened. And yet, I wear the badge." The man's voice dropped to a growl. "That badge doesn't make you clean. It makes me untouchable." "Not forever." The sheriff's eyes narrowed. "You threaten me?" "I promise you." The sheriff's hand twitched near his gun. "Give me the boy, and maybe I will forget this talk." The man's heart was hammered. "He stays. You'll hang for him." "I'll hang before I give him up." The sheriff laughed, low and cruel. "Same old fool, protecting what ain't yours. You couldn't save your brother. You won't save this boy." The man's voice cracked. "I won't lose another." The sheriff's eyes sharpened. "Another? There it is. You still think he's alive. You still dream he's out there. That's what makes you weak." The man's breath came hard. "Better weak than rotten." The sheriff ripped his pistol free, leveled it at the man's chest. The man didn't flinch. He pulled his own gun fast, aiming steady. "Go ahead." They stood locked, guns drawn, eyes burning. Horses whinnied in the barn, hooves pounding against wood. The sheriff sneered. "You won't fire." The man's finger trembled on the trigger. "Try me." The sheriff's voice dropped to a whisper. "Your brother begged before he went under. Do you want that memory?" The man's face twisted, rage and grief tearing him apart. "Shut your mouth." "Begged for you. Call your name." "Shut it." The man's hand jerked. The gun cocked. Silence pressed down. The sheriff's grin faltered for the first time. The boy's voice cut through the tension, small and steady. "Don't." Both men turned. The boy stood in the barn doorway, sketchbook hugged to his chest. His eyes were wide, unblinking. The sheriff snarled. "There he is. Hand him over." The man stepped between them. "He stays." The sheriff barked. "Move." "No." The sheriff raised his pistol higher. "Last chance." The boy whispered. "He's lying." The sheriff snapped his head toward him. "What?" "You didn't bury him. You just covered him." The sheriff's face darkened. "Shut your mouth, kid." The man's heart thudded. "What do you know?" The boy's voice was flat. "He drew horses too." The sheriff's hand shook. "You don't know what you're saying." The man stepped closer, gun steady. "He knows enough." The sheriff's eyes darted, fury flaring. He spat hard into the dirt. "You'll regret this. Ghosts will eat you alive. The past will bury you." The man's voice was cold. "Then I'll be buried standing." They stood locked, breathing hard, guns trembling. Then the sheriff cursed, lowered his pistol, and backed away. He climbed into his truck, slammed the door, and gunned the engine. Dust rose as he tore down the drive, leaving the man and the boy in silence. The man's arm dropped, pistol hanging loose at his side. His breath shook. He turned to the boy. "You shouldn't have come out." The boy whispered. "I had to." The man's voice cracked. "He knows too much." The boy hugged the sketchbook tighter. "So do I." The man stared at him, broken. Horses shifted in the barn, restless, waiting. The dust hung in the air long after the truck was gone. The sheriff's words clung, heavy as stone. "The past will bury you." The man whispered, "Not yet." The night was still at first, the kind of stillness that weighed heavy, pressing on the lungs. The man lay awake on his cot, staring at the ceiling beams. The boy's pencil scratched faintly in the kitchen. It was past midnight. He should have been asleep hours ago. The man turned his head toward the sound. "Go to bed," he called. No answer. Just the steady, sharp rhythm of graphite cutting into paper. He sat up, groaning at the stiffness in his back. He walked into the kitchen. The lantern was dim, its glow throwing shadows across the boy's hunched frame. Pages lay scattered. Horses wild and screaming filled them, manes like whips, hooves pounding in frantic motion. "You'll wear yourself out," the man muttered. The boy didn't look up. "You hear me?" "Can't stop." The man's voice hardened. "You need sleep." The boy's pencil slashed deeper, breaking the page. "Not till it's done." "What's done?" The boy whispered. "The fire." The man froze. "What fire?" The boy finally lifted his head. His eyes were glassy, far away. "The one coming." The man's stomach knotted. He wanted to shake him, to demand sense, but the boy lowered his head again, sketching faster, furious. The sound grated like nails. The man turned away. He poured water from the jug, drank deep, and muttered to himself, "You're driving me mad." The boy's voice followed, faint, almost swallowed. "It's already here." The man looked back, uneasy. The boy's pencil broke in his hand. His shoulders sagged. He pressed the stub of lead against the page anyway, scratching nothing. The man sighed. Enough. Get to bed. The boy didn't move. The man blew out the lantern. I mean it. Darkness swallowed the room, but the sound of frantic sketching carried on in the dark. And the man woke to screams. Not human. Horses. He bolted upright, chest tight. The window glowed orange. His heart lurched. He stumbled into his boots, grabbed his coat, and burst through the door. The barn was burning. Flames licked through the roof, bright against the night sky. Horses reared and thrashed, their cries cutting through the air. The man's legs carried him before his mind caught up. No, no, no. The fire roared as if it had always been waiting. Shadows danced across the dirt, stretching long and twisted. Smoke stung his eyes, filled his lungs. He yanked the barn door open. Heat slammed into him. The horses screamed louder, trapped in their stalls, eyes rolling white. He grabbed a bucket, threw water. It hissed useless against the inferno. He cursed, coughing, pulled his shirt over his mouth. Boy, he shouted. No answer. Where are you? He shoved through the smoke, eyes burning. The stalls rattled as horses kicked. He fumbled with latches, yanking one open. A mare bolted past him, vanishing into the night. Another stall door jammed. He ripped until splinters tore his hands. A gelding burst free, nearly trampling him. He coughed hard, bent double, then froze. Through the flames, he saw him. The boy. Sitting cross-legged in the middle of the barn, sketchbook on his knees, pencil racing furiously across the page. Fire curled around him, shadows writhing across the walls. His small frame was lit like a figure in some ritual. The man staggered forward. What are you doing? The boy didn't look up. His hand moved in a blur, lines slashing, tearing at the page. Get out, the man roared. The boy kept drawing. The man lunged through the fire, the heat searing his arms. He grabbed the boy's shoulder, shaking him hard. Move! The boy jerked once, eyes wild, but his hand kept going. Not done. To hell with it, the man shouted. He yanked the sketchbook away. The boy screamed, clawing at it. The man flung it aside and dragged him up, arms under his ribs. The boy kicked, thrashing. Let go! I'll be damned if I leave you. Flames surged higher, beams groaning above. Sparks rained down, biting his skin. He pulled the boy toward the door, lungs burning, vision spinning. The boy fought weakly, shouting, Not finished! The man coughed blood into his shirt, arms trembling. He staggered through fire, boots sinking into ash. His hands blistered against the boy's clothes. He didn't care. He dragged him out into the night air and collapsed in the dirt. The boy gasped, clutching at his chest. The man rolled to his side, hacking, skin raw. His eyes watered as he stared back. The barn was an inferno, flames devouring wood with greedy roars. Horses that had escaped circled in panic, winning into the smoke. The boy struggled to his knees, coughing. His hands clawed at the dirt. Something white fluttered beside him. Page. The man blinked through the smoke. The last sketch had slipped from the boy's grip when he dragged him out. The boy snatched it, holding it tight. The man reached for it. Give it here. No. Now. The boy's hands shook as he held it up. The firelight caught it, illuminating the lines. The man's breath caught. It wasn't a horse. It wasn't a broken face. It was his brother, standing beside the sheriff, alive, but broken. One eye shaded dark, mouth set in a grim slash. His brother's scar showed clear as memory, his posture hunched, as if beaten, but still breathing. And next to him, the sheriff's hand rested heavy on his shoulder, grip possessive, cruel. The man's world tilted. No, he whispered. The boy's voice was ragged. It's him! The man snatched the page, staring. His knees buckled. This isn't real. The boy coughed hard, eyes streaming. It's real. The man tore the paper in half. No! The boy cried out, reaching. You can't stop it. The man ripped it again, hands shaking. It's a lie. The boy sobbed, falling forward in the dirt. He's still out there. The barn groaned. Flames tore through the roof, collapsing beams inward. The roar swallowed everything. The heat pushed them back, forcing them toward the fence. The man held the shredded sketch, pieces trembling in his hands. His brother's face stared from broken fragments, still alive in pencil. He dropped them, crushed them under his boot. His chest heaved, breath ragged. The boy looked up, voice weak but cutting. You can burn the drawing. You can't burn him. The man's knees gave out. He sank in the dirt, staring at the blaze. Memories crashed over him, his brother laughing, shouting, riding off. The sheriff's smirk, the badge shining in the sun. He pressed his blistered hands to his face, rocking forward. The boy crawled closer, placing the sketchbook between them. His voice cracked. "He's with the sheriff. You know it." The man whispered, "No." "Yes." "He's dead." "No." The boy's voice was sharp, desperate. "He drew horses, too." The man's hands fell from his face. He looked at the boy, broken, lost. The barn collapsed. The roof caved inward with a thunderous crash. Sparks exploded into the night sky, scattering like stars. Horses screamed and bolted into the fields. The fire lit the yard like daylight, a furious, living thing. The man stared into it, numb. His world had already burned long before the flames touched wood. The boy leaned against him, shivering. "Now you see." The man didn't answer. He just watched his barn fall to ash, brother's face etched in fire behind his eyes. The sketchbook lay between them, pages fluttering in the heat, waiting for the next line. The morning was gray, the kind of gray that smothered sound. Smoke still lifted from the blackened skeleton of the barn. The man stood in the yard, boots in the ash, hands blistered, skin raw. Every breath scraped his lungs. The horses were scattered in the pasture, restless, snorting, their cries echoing faint against the silence. The boy sat on the porch steps, sketchbook closed on his knees. His eyes followed the smoke curling upward, his face pale, streaked with soot. He hadn't spoken since the fire. The man turned toward him, voice rough. "Do you eat anything?" The boy shook his head. "You need to." The boy whispered, "Not hungry." The man rubbed his face with shaking hands. His nerves still hummed like live wire. "Barn's gone. Tools, feed, everything." The boy looked at him, eyes unblinking. "Not everything." The man frowned. "What's that mean?" The boy rose, sketchbook clutched to his chest. He walked down the steps, bare feet, leaving prints in the ash. He didn't look back. "Where are you going?" The man called. The boy kept walking. "Answer me." The boy's voice floated back, steady. "Field." The man cursed under his breath, but followed. His boots crunched in the brittle grass. The smoke trailed behind them like a ghost. They crossed the yard, past the pasture fence, into the wide field beyond. Mist hung low, rolling across the ground. The boy moved ahead, small and silent, sketchbook tight under his arm. The man's chest tightened with every step. "Why here?" The boy didn't answer. He pushed deeper into the field, the fog swallowing him. "Damn it, talk to me." The boy stopped. He lifted his arm, pointing straight ahead. The man squinted. The mist shifted, shapes stirring. At first it looked like nothing but shadow. Then it moved. A figure limped through the fog. The man's breath stopped. His heart hammered against his ribs. The figure drew closer. A man, older, worn, clothes torn, face marked with scars, hair streaked gray, beard rough, eyes dark hollows. His gait was uneven, dragging one leg. The man staggered back a step, voice breaking. "Number no, it can't." The boy whispered, "It's him." The figure came closer until the mist thinned. The man saw him clearly. His brother. He froze, every muscle locked. The scar under his left eye glinted in the pale light. The same scar, the same jaw, but aged, broken, burned by years. The man's voice cracked. "Brother?" The figure stopped a few feet away, chest rising heavily. His eyes flicked between the man and the boy. His voice was rough as gravel. "You're still here." The man's throat closed. "You're alive." The brother's mouth twisted. "Alive's a word for it." The man's knees weakened. He wanted to reach out, to grip him, to pull him close, but rage surged with grief. "Where were you?" The brother's gaze dropped. "Buried under silence." "That's no answer. It's the only one I have." The man's voice hardened. "You left me." The brother's eyes lifted, scar catching. "Light. You let me." The words cut deep. "I searched. I broke myself searching." The brother shook his head. "Not hard enough." The boy stepped between them, small voice steady. "Stop." They both looked at him. The man snapped, "Stay out of this." The boy's eyes burned. "You wanted him. Now he's here." The man turned back, fists trembling. "Years. I thought you were dead. I buried you in my mind, every damn day." The brother's face twisted. "And I was dead. The sheriff saw to that." The man froze. "Sheriff." The brother nodded once. Took what was mine, took land, pride, and left me to rot. The man's jaw clenched. He told me you owed him. The brother spat in the dirt. I owed nothing. He made sure the papers said otherwise. The man shook his head, voice sharp. Why didn't you fight? I did. I lost. You could have come back. The brother's voice cracked, loud now. To what? To nothing? To see you broken the same as me? To drag you under? The man's chest heaved. I would have carried it with you. The brother's eyes glistened. You already carried it. That's why I stayed gone. The boy whispered. He drew horses too. The brothers fell silent, staring at him. The man swallowed hard. You did. The brother nodded faintly. When I still believed in running. The man's eyes burned. He stepped forward, voice ragged. I should hate you. Then hate me. I should hit you. Then hit me. The man's fists trembled at his sides. But I can't. The brother's face broke for the first time, eyes wet. Then don't. The man grabbed him, pulling him close, arms locked around him. The brother stiffened, then sank into the hold. They clung, both shaking. Tears cut through the soot on the man's face. He muttered into his brother's shoulder, You bastard! You damn bastard! I know. They broke apart, breath harsh, eyes raw. The boy stood watching, silent, sketchbook hugged to his chest. The brother's gaze shifted, his jaw tightened. He looked toward the ridge. The man followed his eyes. The sheriff stood there, rifle gleaming in the pale light, shadow long in the mist. The man's body went rigid. The sheriff's voice carried down, loud and cruel. Well, look at that. Ghosts do crawl back when you dig deep enough. The brother's hand curled into a fist. He won't stop. The man's teeth clenched. He can't shoot us both. The sheriff barked a laugh. I don't need to. The ground'll do it for me, same as it always has. The brother spat. You stole everything. I kept order. You kept silent. The sheriff lifted the rifle, glint sharp. I'll keep it again. The man pulled the boy close, shielding him. Run, he whispered. The boy shook his head. No. Do as I say. No. The sheriff's voice cut. Through. You think you can hide him? Think you can undo what's buried? That boy is mine. The brother stepped forward, voice sharp. Number, he's ours. The sheriff's finger twitched on the trigger. Last chance. The boy's voice rose, steady, louder than it had ever been. Stop! The sheriff paused. The boy opened his sketchbook. For the first time, he didn't draw. He closed it, snapping it shut with both hands. His eyes locked on the sheriff. Now you see. The air shifted. The sheriff faltered, rifle lowering an inch. His face twitched, eyes narrowing. The man's breath caught. The boy stood between them, small and unyielding. The sketchbook pressed shut like a seal. The sheriff's hand shook. He spat in the dirt. This ain't over. He slung the rifle over his shoulder and turned, walking back into the mist. His figure dissolved into gray until nothing was left but silence. The man's body sagged. His brother let out a shaky breath. The boy closed his eyes, whispering, Now you see. The man looked at him, then at his brother, then back again. His chest heaved with something that was not relief, not grief, but both. He reached out with blistered hands, gripping the boy in one arm, his brother in the other. They stood in the field, smoke curling, mist thick, silence heavy. The man whispered, I don't know which of you is real. The boy pressed his face against his chest. The brother's arm held tight around his shoulder. Above them, crows lifted from the field, black wings breaking against the pale sky, their cries echoing over the land. The man shut his eyes, gripping them both, and didn't let go.